Hi guys, Luke here and welcome to another FIFA 21 video, and today guys I'm going to be talking to you about the upcoming What If promo, which has me extremely excited. And today at 6 PM EA did give a new loading screen, not actually saying that What If is coming, but it pretty much has been confirmed because on Twitter Xbox leaked out a screenshot of the actual official card design, which I haven't been able to find yet on FIFA roster to actually download as a card design, so I've had to use a different concept design for the cards that I've got on this video. But basically the What If promo is coming. We just don't know exactly for what the What If actually is. Now, in my opinion, I brought it down to two things. It's either going to be What If as in, let's say for example, at the start of a player's career, they played in a certain position and then they went on to kind of play in a different position over the course of this. So for example, of course, Gareth Bale started his career with Southampton and his early years at Tottenham as a left back, and eventually moved to an attacker on the right hand side of Real Madrid, and nowadays of course back at Spurs. There are other examples, for example Sergio Ramos and stuff like that as well. But what I think and also hope that the What If is more is for players that had so much potential but never really lived up to that potential. And for this video, I mean, it could be like a 2-week promo. So maybe like the first week could be, what if players if they had have played in their first position which they started out of as a kid, and then maybe the second week of the promo could be about players that what if they actually reached their potential that they kind of promised to be or whatever. But I can't see EA kind of splitting it in two ways. They're more likely to just go one route, and I'm hoping it's more the route of what if they went on to be, this good, if they would have said their club and been able to break through or whatever or something like that. But we have a few screenshots of a few predictions that we've gone for. So because I think it's also more likely to be around cards that what if they went on to achieve their full potential, not so much what if they went on to play in their first starting position. So the two screenshots the first screenshot that we'll get out of the way is for two players that have been able to find that what if they actually played in the position that they grew up in. So for example, that Ramos started his career at Sevilla, and then his early days at Real Madrid as a right back. Was actually pretty quick, and so I've gone a nice little slight increase on him. I obviously couldn't go too much more higher than 92 rated because of course he does have a Team of the Year card, and EA will make sure that his rating, if he was to be included in this, that they would want to make sure that his rating wouldn't get to that Team of the Year level. But a Gareth Bale at left back would be insane. Of course, given amazing defending. I think I did actually give it a shooting reduction on Bale, because obviously if he would have played his whole career at left back, yes, he still would have scored goals, but actually he wouldn't have gone on to have scored obviously as many goals as what he has done as a right winger. So obviously nowadays he's shooting I think is at 83, but if he was to play as a left back and went on to achieve his full potential as a left back, his shooting still would never have been as good. So that's why I actually want a reduction on the shooting and increases on the parts to the card. But I kind of want to get that part out of the way because I don't find that part too exciting myself personally. Just again position change cards. What I like more is what I'm about to show you now, is players that could go on to achieve their full potential. And we've got 10 cards here because EA are likely to put in 10 to 12 players probably each week for the promo. Assuming that it is going to be a 2-week promo. Nowadays it usually is, and they kind of release between 10 to 12 and maybe one card, or objectives, maybe 2 cards in SBCs. But as you can see here, these are 3 players that could have easily, they were promised so much and didn't live up to their potential. So, for example, Martin Odegaard, some people would say, could he still live up to his potential? I don't think he ever will. Remember when he came from, I think it was from Stronger Godset or something like that, or maybe it wasn't, I'm not too sure, but came over to Real Madrid as a 16-year-old, was promised so much, went out on loan to Herneveen, I think it was, and the Dutch league, to be fair, did pretty well with them, went out on loan, I think, a couple of times to Real Sociedad, and of course, last season was actually really, really good for Real Sociedad. But again, he's come back to Madrid, hasn't done enough to kind of establish himself once again in the first team. And of course, that's never easy to be able to do at Real Madrid, but obviously hasn't been able to do so, and is now gone on loan to Arsenal. As far as I'm concerned, okay, yes, he's still playing with a big Premier League club in Arsenal, but he's still not living up to the wonder kid. He's not living up to the ability that a lot of people thought he was, because obviously if he was living up to the ability, he'd be starting week in, week out for Real Madrid. He wouldn't be on loan at Arsenal, no disrespect to them, but he just simply wouldn't be. Players who go out on loan typically nowadays are going there because they're not wanted from their first club. They are the surplus to demands. It's as simple as that. As much as I hate to say that about Ertugrul, because obviously he wanted to do well, in his career, he hasn't lived up to his potential. But I think a card that would be fair to him, if he was to live up to his potential, would be a 91 rated. Could you imagine how good that card would be as a cami? Being saying Caceres as well, who actually used to play for Barcelona, went to Barcelona, also had a small spell at Juventus after Barcelona, but he went to Barca. There was so much promise around him, and I think he was only there for a season in the end. He just simply didn't deliver. I think he came with quite a high price tag as well for that one season that he was with them. And, okay, has gone on to do fairly well within his career, but he never has lived up to the potential that was expected of him. And him was like an 89 rating with like 81 pace, amazing defending and physicalities would be insane. And then of course Andy Carroll, he did not live up to his expectations. Of course, that first season with Newcastle, that he really broke out with. He was fantastic. Went to Liverpool. Obviously, the glamour of going to Liverpool was obviously, I think he never actually wanted to go. If you go back and look at interviews from the time, I think he actually was happy to stay at Newcastle, but Newcastle wanted to sell him to get the funds. But there's no doubt about that if he would have lived up to his potential, maybe if he would have stayed that full season at Newcastle and then maybe moved, that might have been a little bit better for him. But he came to Liverpool with so much promise, came to Liverpool injured, and of course injuries really affected his career. And he's gone so many long periods of not being able to score goals and stuff like that. But had he lived up to his potential, he would have been absolutely unreal. If he could have stayed at that ability and continued to grow from that first half a season before we joined Liverpool in January 2009 or January 2010, something like that, he would have gone on to be one of the great Premier League strikers in my personal opinion. So I think a 91 rated card for him would be really, really cool, because it takes cards like Carroll, Odegaard, Caceres, who aren't really great at all for the stage of the game. Certainly Carroll, for example, was like a 73 rated silver or whatever, and it makes them insane cards, and that's really what I hope they kind of go with this promo. I think that'd be absolutely fantastic. So moving on to another set, we have Kepa Arrizabalaga, Oscar, and Iago Aspas. Some people may find the Iago Aspas cards maybe a little bit harsh, but he came to Liverpool again and never lived up to his expectations. From Celta Vigo, has gone back to Celta, and to be fair, has done pretty well with them. He's basically single-handedly kept them in La Liga for the past couple of seasons, and he has an 89 rated player of the month card as well at the moment in FIFA. But I still don't think when he came to Liverpool, when he came to the Premier League, he never lived up to the hype that he came initially from within La Liga. To be quite honest, he was shocking. I think he's one of the worst strikers that I've ever seen at Liverpool, but that just sometimes happens, or a move doesn't work out for a player. Maybe that one's a little bit harsh to have as a player that didn't live up to their full potential, because I'm not too sure on that one. Now Kepa Arrizabalaga is a player that certainly has not lived up to his potential, and of course, yes, is still young, but at the same time, obviously, Chelsea signed Mendy from Rennes at the start of the season, and he's been starting pretty much 9 times out of 10 ahead of Kepa, and he's really struggled. He fell out of favour even last season, where Caballero, who's 38 or whatever, a 38-year-old goalkeeper, was starting ahead of Kepa. And I remember when Kepa obviously came, he still holds the record for the most expensive goalkeeper in the world as well at the moment, of 68 million or something like that, and never really has lived up to his potential again, since coming from Atletico Bilbao at all. And so I think that a card for him, despite still being relatively young, I think he's 24, 25. I don't know if that'd be a little bit too harsh for him, but I've gone with him anyway. And then Oscar, of course, as well, who went to Chelsea, ended up going to the CSL very early on. I think only his mid-20s or whatever. But again, another player that had so much talent, and I thought was okay for Chelsea, but again, didn't maybe quite live up to the expectation that a lot of players did, because I think he was, whilst he had good games, I think he was very inconsistent for large periods of time, and obviously has now gone to the CSL, which was, obviously, he's took the money and run, to be fair to him, but he could have been so good in European football, not just for Chelsea, but maybe even for foreign clubs as well. But I think it'd be a pretty cool card to have personally. The next set will include Aaron Ramsey, Boyan, and Jonathan Tah as well. Aaron Ramsey, again, some people may say this is a bit of a harsh decision, but injuries affected his career so much, and whilst he had some, he had a couple amazing seasons for Arsenal, and actually I want to put Jack Wilshere ahead of Ramsey for this one, but I highly doubt that EA will go from a player from the Championship. I don't even know if he's in the game this year. I know that he is currently with Bournemouth, but I don't know if EA have actually added him into the code or whatever. But I went with Ramsey because there were times where he shown so much talent, but again, could be extremely inconsistent. I think fell out with the team on quite a few occasions as well, and I think was a player that maybe even deserves to have maybe an 89 or even a 90 rated card or whatever. Boyan, of course, he was dubbed at one period the next Messi, when he was growing up and going through Barcelona's ranks. It even says on his Wikipedia page that he was beating records that Messi had set and stuff like that as well. So he was certainly dubbed the next Messi, and ended up going to Stoke City. So clearly a player that in his very early like couple seasons with Barcelona, like what we're seeing with like Pedri right now and like Trincao and players like that, shown so much promise and eventually never delivered. And obviously, now playing at like the MLS with Montreal Impact, he was a player that just did not live up to his expectation. And this is a card, once again, of, what if he went on to do well with Barcelona and continue to start week in, week out, if he would have had, like, another good season or something like that. He could have gone on to be, like, a Barcelona Grace or something like that. And then Jonathan Tah, again, he was only 25 with Leverkusen, and, like, he was doing amazing for them, like, a couple of years ago, but now just seems to be struggling. I don't think he seems to get quite as many games as what he used to, but he'd be another card that I think would deserve to be in there. And then also the final one, guys, that I've got is Raul Albiol, who did, of course, join Real Madrid in 2009, I want to say, and was there for like 4 years and only played like I think less than 100 games in those 4-year periods. Was signed like a big price tag at the time, like I think it was 15 million euros or something like that, which is obviously a lot back then. And just didn't live up to his expectation, and a lot of it again was down to injury. I think in general he just struggled to be able to set into the like kind of get used to the team and stuff like that as well, and just simply fell out of favor. But that, guys, is pretty much everything for the what if promo. Some prediction cards there, and what I think that we might see. I think we're more likely to see the thing of like what if they kind of live to their full potential, and I hope it is that one personally, not like what if they played in a certain position and continue to play in that particular position for the rest of their career, like for example, Gareth Bale at left back. I personally would prefer the what if they lived up to their expectation. But let me guys know what you think in the comment section as well. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys later.